Brexit. In the nearly 3 years since the referendum in 2016, which saw the UK vote to leave the European Union, the issue has never been far from the thoughts of the nation who voted for it, the lips of politicians who discuss it, nor from the front page headlines and top of the timelines of the media outlets that represent it. Indeed, the barrage of media coverage of the progression of events has been extensive, and at times even overwhelming, with every outlet, channel, broadsheet or tabloid taking a stance and employing a plethora of linguistic and rhetorical devices to influence public opinion. Recent research has revealed the extent of the bias within the media coverage of Brexit, suggesting that less than 50% of the news coverage in print presented the facts with a neutral stance, and that over 80% of the representation in the press, when weighted for circulation, was given over to articles in favour of the Leave campaign. But what do people actually think? Are the general public aware of the language used to influence them in the media they consume? And does it work? To what extent does the media representation influence their views? To find out, I asked some students at the University of Reading, as well as some local residents, a number of questions, and revealed some of the facts about the power of the media to gauge their reactions.
I think I would have voted to remain.
I voted to stay.
I voted to remain.
Or remain.
I would have voted remain.
Remain.
But it was kind of a bit of a tough call. Not at all. That's probably been reinforced. I think we've made the wrong decision. I'm very much towards leave now.
In an ideal world, we wouldn't have left in the first place.
I'd still remain.
Well, I think after the actual referendum, a lot of people realised the folly of their ways and they're actually influenced by the media.
I think it would just have been easier to stay, to be honest.
No, definitely not.
So you're still a Remainer?
I'm still a Remainer, yeah. Okay. I would still 100% be Remain, and I hope we get the best out of what we have at the moment.
If anything, I've become more confident.
So I've got a bunch of news apps like BBC, The Guardian, etc. A lot easier to get in touch with because they're just on your phone, you get notifications as soon as things happen.
My mum tells me things.
Whatever comes up on social media.
Social media.
Off social media.
Like social media, so like Facebook.
On social media, so kind of following BBC on Instagram or Facebook.
I have BBC News app on my phone. When I go home, my granddad is obsessed with the Daily Express. Apart from that, I'm pretty unaware.
Otherwise, I don't really take in the news.
To reading or watching the BBC News because I know that they're reliable.
I try to read a newspaper every once in a while.
Possibly a newspaper at the weekend.
I wouldn't really trust anything from other newspapers. I feel they're biased in different ways, whereas BBC, in my opinion, gives quite just a generic overview of actually what's going on.
I would say the most reliable is probably a newspaper or TV, just because they have to revise what they're saying.
They've all got to be fact-checked, they've all got to be backed up, and so that does add an element of reliability.
I think if it's printed in a newspaper, I'm more likely to say it's reliable.
Facebook I'm very wary of. It's often people just spewing their opinion as facts.
If you go on social media, then it tends to be portrayed in a certain kind of way.
The newspaper is the most reliable.
I'm very sceptical of stuff, articles in the newspaper.
If it's a decent newspaper.
Yeah, I trust newspapers, but more so if I understand their background.
Tabloid newspapers, they wind me up a bit. I guess what can happen in the newspapers is that you'll have one journalist kind of doing their kind of own analysis.
Probably being manipulated. I don't think it did really.
I don't know.
I think massively so, actually.
I was quite young at the time, so I'd say a lot, and I didn't really know much about politics.
Being quite young, I don't have experience in kind of how politics work.
Either the extremists for Remain and for Leave, I was definitely affected by both because of that.
There's too many conflicting reports.
I was quite confident on Remain anyway.
I think I probably already made up my mind.
I heard a lot of stuff about voting Leave.
Seeing the way in which the Leave campaign was run saddened me somewhat. It was just appealing to popularism.
So I sort of got the opinion that a lot of people my generation were voting Remain.
I got a lot of my information and decision making from friends and family.
I think a lot of my family voted Leave. I guess the kind of points they were making made a lot of sense.
I try and go for the most impartial news outlets because there's so much out there and you never really know what to believe.
More stuff towards the kind of like leaving and the whole Brexit scenario being printed out, like the red buses and stuff.
There seemed to be a lot more information about leaving. I'm not sure that was very accurate.
Everyone thought we were going to Remain and then everyone voted Leave.
No, I'm not aware. I would say they're both 50-50.
I'd probably get more Remain than I get Leave.
No, I don't think in general, but I think in my social circle, yes.
But I think in my age, most people were talking about Remain. The Leave campaign was much greater.
More around the stay camp and the negative impacts of leaving Europe.
Leave campaign seemed more extravagant.
I wouldn't personally say I have noticed a huge bias either way.
I definitely heard more about the Remain.
And now I think it's very derogatory against Leaving.
Wouldn't like to say either way, actually.
It again discusses things in a very single set mindset.
It's very strong. Yeah.
It is very emotive.
In your face and trying to get you to do this thing.
Really see how that could influence someone.
So I think some people may be taken in.
My first thought is that it's clever.
I like it when papers do that. It's very clever. Pun on words.
I wouldn't say it's very factual.
I wouldn't really trust it.
It just looks like a bit of kind of propaganda. Like I wouldn't read that and be convinced.
A lot of newspapers will serve to speak to an audience that's already got some kind of decision.
Yeah, it's a bit heavy.
Personally, that would turn me off.
I don't want to be rude, but given that it's the Sun, it would probably persuade me to do the opposite.
Somebody who wanted to have an objective view would probably not be looking at this.
It's not persuading me.
Has it persuaded me? Not at all.
Okay, wow. That's quite a big number.
It's disappointing.
A little bit pissed off, to be honest.
Really? Wow.
It doesn't surprise me.
I've been played a bit.
Wow.
So,
No wonder people voted Leave.
It is really scary at what can persuade your whole mindset.
Many papers or many news sources no, because they are forwarding some kind of agenda. And there will always be a measure of bias in terms of what the actual or the person who's writing it.
You think everyone's going to be neutral, it has to be neutral, but nah, that's definitely opened my eyes.
They wanted their own thing and just use the people to get there, basically. It's just persuasive tactics.
I think it would definitely make me question a lot of the stories. Each side has an agenda. I think it's difficult to trust, but even the people that say they're impartial and unbiased, you want to believe that, but you never really know anymore.
I think it's quite deceiving, but I also think it's quite naive of us.
Many people who go to newspapers with a particular view would say likewise that of course it's trustworthy, it's showing it as it is.
I have a healthy awareness of the incorrectness of the way articles are reported.
A lot of the country have been tricked into thinking one way because of the news sources they read.
It's good that people are becoming more aware of this, I think, and I hope they are with all this fake news business.
Read stuff with a slight pinch of salt, let's say.
maybe I've got a view that the ones that I go to are trustworthy. It could be a dangerous thing to do, just trusting things.
Anyone can put something up on the internet, anyone can post something on Facebook. I don't think anyone quite realises how much influence that can have, how much power they have over someone.